I can talk into this mic. What? You're not reading me? I cut it out. I'm testing 1, 2, testing, testing. Testing, 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 2, 3, 4, testing.
And they only got,
Almost there.
for 2 months. And then since we
Time
didn't
you
have
got?
a meeting with them, there was no-
We're there.
wait until.
Walk up there.
Yeah, let's see.
All right.
What happened.
Welcome. I'd like to welcome everyone to our board meeting this afternoon. I appreciate you coming out. As we always do at the beginning of the meeting, we'll open up if there are any questions that you want to ask the board before we actually start the meeting. You're welcome to do that. If we can't answer it right now, we'll make a note and make sure we follow up with it and respond, but no later than our next board meeting. A couple of things that I've been asked to, one thing I've been asked to address is they're going to have the roving microphones again on the floor. So when you have a question, they'll come to you with a microphone. If you can wait till they get to you, and then also make sure that you identify yourself, because that'll help the people who are on the Zoom broadcast to know what's being said and who's saying it. And please speak into the microphone. So that's what I was asked to share before we start. And I had one other thing before we start that. I wanted to explain, we had a notice that was put up about a closed board meeting, and it was for employee matters. It's a gray area, especially in Florida with the law, and you can have a closed board meeting to address employment issues, but there's a gray area as to what actually defines that. So when it was brought to my attention by a resident, I took another look at it, and I don't know that we can't do it, but I've chose to go the route of not doing it until we can actually clarify what the actual rules and guidelines are. And we have other options we can do as far as what we were trying to accomplish with that meeting anyway. So I just wanted to clarify it, so if you had any questions on that, that's what that was, and we have canceled the meeting. With that, are there any questions for the board before we start? Yes,
Oh, maybe not.
was there?
I thought you raised your hand. Okay.
Sorry, we thought you raised your... Okay,
Wow.
Wow.
we'll go ahead and start the meeting. I'm going to do the call to order, so we'll do the roll call.
Sandra Fox, Precinct 3.
Barry Stevens, Precinct 5.
Dave Mays, Precinct 1.
Tom Boniface, Precinct 2.
Okay, now if everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the proof of notice for our meeting was posted on May 24th at 12 noon. Now we have the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Any discussion on the minutes? Do we have a motion do we have any discussion from the floor on the minutes before we start? With that, do I have a motion?
Right
Gentleman
here.
down there.
Yes. Just a moment.
Scott Stokes, Indian Ocean Loop. The question is on the old business, and it would be D. It says
No, this
8D.
this is for approval of the
Of
minutes.
the old,
Oh,
The old minutes, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, not there.
I'll
No, we're
I'll save
almost.
that question.
save the question,
Yes.
we'll be there soon.
I make a motion to accept the minutes. I think, did I do okay?
Sandra did.
Yes.
Second.
Seconded by Barry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously, so the minutes are passed. Next is the president's report. First thing I wanted to address is there's going to be our June precinct meetings. Each precinct's going to have a meeting. And what will be, the purpose of the meeting is to allow the communications committee to do a presentation to familiarize the residents with the changes that are happening with the Royal Harbor website, and also to entertain any questions pertaining to those or suggestions from the community. The Precinct 1 meeting has been set for June 21st at 6:30 p.m., and the Precinct 3 meeting has been set for June 22nd at 6 p.m. We still have the other 3 precincts will be getting their dates out, and we hopefully can have that to you within the next few days, so for their dates to iron out for so that the committee can finalize their presentation. It'll be a PowerPoint presentation, and the same person will be doing each presentation, so the information will be the same. But I do encourage you to attend, because if you do have any questions, that's a time that it helps the board too, as we go forward with in making our decisions for approving and finalizing any changes that they suggest. The next thing I wanted to bring up to remind people is of the food drive, which will be on June 5th from 9:30 to noon for the community. We're participating as a part of the Community Food Challenge. And so they will be collecting the items, I believe, at the outside, is it by the kiosk or is it by the kiosk?
Okay.
But we do encourage everyone to participate so that Royal Harbor has a good turnout and possibly has the largest turnout in that area in the competition. The next thing we have is to, we are working with the staff to change, we're going to change the office lunch hours. So essentially, the office will not be closed at lunch starting June 3rd. The lunches will be from 11:30 to 12:30 and 12:30 to 1:30. So that the office will no longer be closed for that hour during the day every day. The reason we're waiting until June 3rd is because there are some vacation time that's being taken by the staff, so that everyone will be back by that time. We're planning to have an additional board meeting next month, but it'll be a workshop meeting open to the public, but it's to have the committees come in and present to the board their proposals or what they're working on for the budget process for next year, and for the board to assist them if possible, if they need any help with trying to finalize and figure out exactly how to do that to prepare their budget proposals. So that'll be coming up. I think we're looking at June 16th, and it'll be noticed appropriately, just like all of our board meetings are noticed. Couple of things. I know there's been a lot of questions pertaining to the Eichelberger work. The Grounds Committee is working on that diligently. It encompasses a large area. More so, it's over 3 precincts, so it is quite a large project, but they are working on it. And a lot of what they're working on, I'm sure, will be a part of their budget presentation for next year, so that we can address the issues and concerns that we know are there, but it probably will be, there will be an expense associated with that. So, but I just wanted to make sure that the whole community knows and understands that they are working on that. And it's a larger project than just 1 or 2 or 3 homes. It's knows and understands like I said, they're working on that. And it's a larger project. They're also dealing with the Oasis homes. 3 more have been identified as dying, and so that's being worked on now. They're working with that. These next 3 trees will also be a shared cost between the landscaper and the community, as they were the first time. I'm not sure how that's going to be going forward, but this next time that will be the case. They also had, in their last meeting, they had a notation about some problems with planning and construction and building within the common areas behind homes. They've noticed that when they've been going around looking at some of the property from the grounds. And I just would want to remind people that, we shouldn't be placing permanent plantings or structures that are outside our property that goes into the community common area property. I don't know of any specific areas. I just know that was a concern that they identified, and I just wanted to make sure I shared it. Sandra has worked diligently on the organizational chart for the board, so we can really finally know what we're supposed to be doing, but that'll be put on the website too, so if you have any considerations or questions about who reports to who, or who is a liaison for which committee, you'll be able to see that because we want to make sure that's posted also. I want to recognize the water volleyball activity. That's, my wife and I participated in that on Saturday. It's a lot of fun, and it's good to see people laughing again. We've missed that in the community for quite some time, and it is really, there are a lot of people who are enjoying that activity, and it's just good to see. And the last thing I have is on the mailbox kiosk. Through my research, I went back. The mailboxes actually are under the maintenance of the Postal Service. Their problem right now is that they don't have any money, but they are working with me to try to see if they can do something to improve the mailboxes up there. So I'm going to be scheduling a meeting with a representative from the post office, and I'll just have to take it a step at a time. But they have always been our boxes, and I don't know if we've ever gone back to them for any kind of regular maintenance or not. I have no idea. But they are willing to look at it. They have looked at it, and they have recognized that, from their own words, that it's a mess. So hopefully we can get some improvements there with repair on the boxes, the ones that are rusting, et cetera. That won't be a cost to the community. And with that, that's the President's report. The next on the agenda would be the Treasurer's report. Sandra?
I hope that everyone has a copy of the Treasurer's report that's in the back. I'm just going to go through it very quickly. Can you hear me? Okay, right here, am I okay? Okay, assets. Total assets for this period, which is month of April, $2,613,664.97. Total liabilities and equity, $2,613,664.97. Our total income for this month was $121,723.23. Our expenses this month came to $115,207.35. That gives us a surplus of $6,515.88. Board approval requested.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Barry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, also, I'm asking for ratification approval on 2 CDs that I purchased. Total amount was $74,000. $30,000 was go to, M-I-Z as in zebra, U-H-O, Mizuho Bank. It matures February 14, 2022, and the rate is 0.04%. That's for $30,000. These words, I'm struggling with English. The next bank that we bought the CD in the amount of $44,000 is N-I-Z as in zebra, R-A-H-I. And the second word is T as in Tom, E, F as in Frank, A-H-O-T. So if anybody can translate, that's great. I got that only for 3 months, and that matures August the 24th, 2021. And that rate was 0.02%. I'm just hoping we can get some better rates, but I just want to ask for ratification approval from the board.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sandra, are you voting or not?
Oh, yes, I vote, yes.
Very good.
Yes, I approve.
Next is the manager's report.
Good afternoon. I did contact Ron Wolf from Summit Broadband several times about us getting the ABC channel. They have been working over at Lakes and Mount Dora. I spoke with Nancy over there. They are operational, so it is working. The last I heard from Mr. Wolf was that he was going to reach out to the upper-level management at Summit and see what can be done for Royal Harbor. And right now, that's where we are. We're waiting to hear what the outcome is. So hopefully I'll be able to provide the board and the membership some good news. Sidewalk bids were sent to the board and placed on the agenda. I sent a proposal for the pool paver pathway to be converted over to concrete so that this would enable the golf carts to be able to drive on there, which they do anyway. But when you have the pavers, the golf cart weight keeps disrupting the pavers. This would be a more permanent solution to the problem. We did get the report on the erosion issues on the retention areas, and we are sending out bids on fixing the Basin 100 area. We're looking at having to get it excavated and then have a fine sand replaced in that area, so we are in the bidding process. I sent out bids for painting and stucco vendors to examine the wall on Highway 19 to fix the cracks and seal the metal trim on the top of the wall. We got one bid from O'Brien Constructions. That was for $13,055. CSL, which is Chester, which some of you know who Chester Brown is because he's done work all around the community. And his bid came in at $7,600. And then the final came in from Grew Painting, and his bid was $9,400. I'm still working on assembling bids for paving companies for the asphalt issues and getting estimates there. The bids for the storm drain system cleanout has been sent to the grounds, and I believe the board is going to be looking at that today. I called Riddle Engineering to inspect the basins, the WORAs, and his pricing is from $15,000 to $2,000, but he recommends that we not do the every 2-year inspection until after we get the work fixed. Contacted Mid-Florida Tree regarding the 3 dead palms on the Oasis to get removed. We did get the proposal. I don't know if we got that set up yet. Let's see here. I'm trying to just highlight here now. Okay, yes.
I believe it was $900.
900?
900,
Yeah, 900. Based on the references from the Rob over at the engineering firm that did the geotech, I contacted Foshee Construction, Boykin Construction, and Hughes regarding the removal of the earth from Basin 100 to begin those repairs. I've also redone the RFP, which is request for proposal, and sent this back out again to see if I can spread a wider net and get some more bids in for this work. Called the city of Tavares regarding the restrictions for replacing the fence around the community. We're just trying to get some numbers here. Any fence on Highway 19 or Eichelberger would have to be 6-foot-high decorative aluminum black metal fence. The backside can be a black chain link with vinyl. So now I'm preparing the RFP for fencing companies, and Ray's out there measuring the length of the Eichelberger area, and then getting me also a perimeter length on the RV park fencing. I received several calls, emails regarding the coyotes, and what appears to be coyote dens in the precinct for WRAs, the water retention areas. Now, I haven't had confirmation back from the Florida Wildlife yet. So that I'm waiting for, but we did take pictures and we sent them over to her, and she's going to let us know and confirm as to whether or not they are indeed coyotes. The only thing we could do is basically use caution. We've already had explored the trapping of the coyotes, and it's basically an exercise in futility. It would cost us tons of money with really no end in sight, because I think there's more coyotes than there's cages. But what I've been told by FWC is just to follow reasonable suggestions. If you are confronted with one, don't turn your back on them, back away slowly. And I think Dawn has posted a lot of these notices on the website as well as over by the mail kiosks. We also went ahead and had drainage solutions on site, and that was to measure the basin areas again and provide an update proposal for the erosion in precinct 4. Many of you remember this name because we had a little bit of a issue with them, but the fellow who gave us the original proposal is now back working for the company. And I was asked to at least reach out and give them an opportunity to bid, and so I did. I met with Sandra normally on Fridays for the coding of our invoices, provided Finance Committee the financial reports for the next meeting, submitted our United Southern Bank, Merrill Lynch, and utility invoices to Century to prepare the April finances, attended the finance meeting. Some of you have gotten postcards in the mail and have already stepped up and asked for the end-of-year financial reports. On a side note, it costs the association about $1, which isn't a lot of money, but it's just a perspective. You figured if every household here asked for us to mail it, we're looking at over $700. We can email them, or you can come here and pick them up. Now, we'll mail it to you. I'm just trying to put a number on it where, maybe if we could email a few more and not mail as many, it's every penny saved is a penny earned. That's all. As Dave pointed out, we're looking into options for the mailboxes, and I believe someone is working on the lighthouse at the back gate. Okay. Now, some of you have probably seen about the do not drink the recirculating water. I didn't do that for giggles. I was told by the Department of Health that unfortunately some people have to have a sign to tell them not to drink pool and spa water. Don't ask me. I can't even begin on that one. But anyway, it's up there temporarily, and so
Nanny
that
state.
when we,
Nanny state.
maybe in, a couple of months, I could get a new sign put up there, but I hesitate putting one up because they add new things, like some people change underwear. So I want to kind of put some distance before putting up a new sign right away. The ladder was fixed, and so that's been taken care of. I sent closing and estoppel information to Mary, and I believe they're putting it on the website or already is on the website. I'm not sure. I don't know where Mary is. But, oh, is it up? Oh, okay, it's up. So that'll give you instructions that if you're going to refinance your house or sell your house, how to get your estoppel information, which is usually what every bank asks you when they want to know how much in your assessments do you owe. And that's pretty much the end of my report.
Okay, any questions on the report? Okay, we'll move on. The next thing on the agenda is under old business would be the sidewalk repairs. We currently have 3 proposals that have been sent to the board. Precision Sidewalks, an estimate from $7,625 to $7,991 to repair some of the rough edges and the lift areas on the sidewalk. Midstate Concrete Leveling and Lifting had a bid of $1,300, and the Big T Development had a bid of $13,425. The first thing on these, though, they're not apple-to-apple bids, so they're all 3 different. So they're not really a comparison on the work. We don't have an SCR on this, but I know that there was some discussion in the Grounds Committee with some concerns over some of the sidewalk areas because of the tree roots that are continuing to pop the different slab areas up, that to fix it, it's not going to correct the problem. So there's there are some things that we need to discuss and consider moving through this. Is there any discussion from the community on this that they want to address the board with before the board discusses it? Okay. The information I have, the sidewalk repairs would be covered under our reserves. There was funding in the reserves in 2022 for $12,148. There's funding in 2024 for $12,838 that was projected in the most recent reserve study. The study also said that the life of our sidewalk should be 65 years, and that they were at the company that did our reserve study estimated that 20% of our sidewalks will need replacement in the next 30 years. The one thing that's missing with this, because it is, and it concerns me, but because it's a reserve item, is that we don't have any, since this started, there's not an engineering report or anything to actually look and assess the sidewalks before we start doing the work. My concern on it is that I would think that, especially since it's a reserve item, that we might want to consider that before we do anything going forward, so we have a clearer idea of the scope of the work and what actually needs to be done, but that's just my comment. Does anyone else have any discussion or comment on this?
I would like to see engineering input, since we're taking it out of the reserve. I'd like to see that myself.
Is there, I would check with some of the bidders and see if they can do an engineering study on that, on what they suggest to be done and what the end's gonna be before we go out and hire an engineer to look at it. And just to see if they're willing to do it. Save some money.
I think my issue is we have trip hazards, but we also have slope issues. And how do we address that? I mean, that's a big thing. So there's a lot of stuff that we got to deal with. And maybe an engineer would be a good way to do it, so.
I know in the one vendor, the Big T, which was the most expensive, that didn't include removing the tree roots. So they were just going to pour right over the top if they removed the slab. So, and the caution, I don't know, it's just me. I'm just saying the caution with this is that because we're considering any funding from the reserves, is that we should make sure exactly and be very careful with what we're spending and how we're spending it and what it's for. The money's, I mean, there are funds there, we can do that, we can make a decision, but we need to make sure we make a sound decision with that. That's my perspective on it, because especially considering that we have 3 bids that none of them are comparable for the type of work that they're proposing to do.
They went from a trip hazard of a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch, so that, I mean, they're all over the place. And the ADA says it's a 1/2 inch, I think, but then another company said, no, it's only a 1/4 inch. And we're not ADA, but we still need to be careful of that, so.
So do I have any suggestions from anyone on the board of what?
Well, what Tom said, let's see if the supplier, or the vendor will offer those services of getting an engineer. If they don't, then of course I would think that we would have to do it, because I think we need that input, I really do. I really do.
I agree on the input. I would proceed cautiously when because when the vendor's trying to sell you something.
Yeah,
and
they're
also
gonna still
provide
work
you with an
together.
engineering report. I mean, I'm not saying anything against the potential vendor, but we need to proceed cautiously with that,
Yeah.
Many of the projects in the past, including the bridges and docks, which is on our agenda today, has had an engineer look at it before the work began to make sure just so we know clearly what the scope of work is we're trying to repair, as opposed to guessing, well, does this need repaired, or should this be looked? We know clearly the lifespan and what needs to be done. And with spending reserve funds, that if we're talking operating, not that that's not important, we need to be important too, but reserves are very important too, and we need to be careful with that. So that's, my suggestion would be that we make a motion to hire an
For us to
engineer.
purchase our, get,
I do.
obtain, yeah, okay, because they could work together. That's true.
I agree.
I've had that experience. Okay, I make a motion that we do entertain the services of an engineer that we purchase for this project.
To address
To
everything.
address the sidewalk.
Trip hazards, slope issues.
Whatever it is.
Whatever. What do we
What-
need to do to fix
Yeah.
these?
Right.
Yeah,
So I second that.
thank you.
Do we have a motion on that then?
Yeah, I made it, it was
Barry
long dissertation.
seconded.
I second.
Do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. So we'll reach out for an engineer. There was an attachment on this too, which wasn't a part of that, but it's concerns the pathway by the pool area. Right now, that's a paver base, and paver bases are not included as a part of the reserves. It's an operational item, expenditure. So any proposed, we have one proposal, which is proposing to pour a concrete walkway. That would change that. I know this has been, the condition of that walkway has been in poor condition for a number of years. I guess it's, from what research, it looks like maybe as far back as 10 years ago.
Yeah, this is,
It never, I guess what I was told is it's always had problems, and it's really at a poor point right now. There's a couple things here, though, that in hampering any, the consideration is that the brick paver bids are from 2020, and they're too old, you know, and we shouldn't be considering any,
I'm not suggesting you consider those.
okay, so that
That was not for consideration, that was basically for, you guys to know what we had
Yeah.
done and why the recommendation to go to, I'm sorry, the recommendation to go to concrete is being suggested. You know, you have a lot of folks who take their golf carts and they drive over that. That's why every year you're spending, you know, every couple of years you're spending money to fix the pavers, and it's going to continue. And that's just the historical price of what we're looking at. To me, make a more permanent solution to the problem and do a concrete path wide enough for the golf carts and, you know, and then be done with it once and for all. On a side note, I thought maybe even putting a few handicap parking areas in that section there
golf carts.
for golf carts, for people who have a difficult time from walking from the parking lot all the way to the back to get to the pool. There are some people that is a distance to travel, and it prevents some folks from being able to enjoy the pool, you know. And you can make it so that you have to have a handicap parking stick, you know, if that's the case. But I think everybody could probably produce one, so.
Well, I don't know about that. Do we have any discussion from the floor on that path that someone would like to share their thoughts on it? Yes?
Bruce Peterman from Precinct 5. That pathway, the paper pathway was put in 2014, and the company that did it was Five Star, which one of the bids that you have there. Unfortunately, the original owner of Five Star, after he put that in, he moved back to, I believe it was South America. I know you're entertaining the idea of concrete back there. Barb had brought up ideas about golf cart parking and everything else. Has anybody looked into just asphalting it?
is what?
Asphalting it.
Asphalt?
Paving.
Oh,
No, I don't think that's been brought up at all. That would connect it to the existing pathway that cuts through there, too. That's definitely, that's not been looked at, but that would definitely be a consideration.
Yeah, but now you have that asphalt pathway coming into the existing sidewalk. I didn't think it would be attractive. That was just a
and
personal.
then the edges breaking.
Well,
and
the
that
edges
over
do break,
time.
and they do crack. And they're not as cheap. I mean, they're cheaper than concrete, I agree. But, you know,
Something to consider.
It's, I mean,
Can
it's
be
still,
considered.
we could look at it and see.
I just thought, though, next to the pool, you wouldn't necessarily want to put asphalt.
No.
I mean,
The
that's,
sidewalk, the walkway definitely needs repair. There's some, it's had cones up on it for a long time, I guess.
since I've been here.
And,
But it's only been since 2014, he said?
Yeah. But you got the golf carts driving on it, and that's why. What?
Suzanne Cunningham,
Yes.
Precinct 4.
Okay.
excuse me?
Suzanne Cunningham, Precinct 4.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay. I would highly support at least a couple of golf cart parking spaces next to the pool because I'm in the pool every day doing therapy, and I'm seeing 2 or 3 people come in their walkers, driving up to the doorway anyway, leaving their cart on the grass, and then stumbling out of the cart to get into the pool because they can't walk from the front, but they need the therapy in the pool. So I would strongly support your considering that.
Okay, thank you. We also have a concern with this, I mean, even with the other sidewalk issue, as the cost of the material keeps going up, the pricing on this is gonna continue to rise too. But we need to make sure we get the right information before we make a decision. I don't know, how does anyone else think about that? And also consider the other suggestions.
Personally, where we're having the issues is where the concrete edging is breaking off and allowing those pavers to slip. If they haven't been touched for 10 year, or 8 years, maybe just having somebody come in and put some concrete edging on and move those things back. I don't know. I'm not 100%. I like how it looks. And if we put spikes on the thing, then we won't have people riding their things on.
Well, in the reserve study, they recommended that would be the route that we should probably consider, is to do the replacement of the minor areas as normal maintenance and consider it as budget item out of our operating budget, as opposed to,
I had this,
anything else.
I had similar thing done in Fort Lauderdale around a pool. And this concrete looks totally different and terrible than what I had done around a pool in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, it could be done better, it could be done nicer, and it would hold up better, maybe. I'm not 100%, but maybe. So that's my feeling.
any other discussion? Anything from you, Tom?
My feelings are that the pavers can be fixed with putting more concrete underneath there.
Speak up, they can't hear you back.
I'm sorry. I thought everybody could hear this voice. My concern is, with it, is that we can fix those pavers that are there for a lot less money and get it up and running for a while again until we get down the road and have more in our reserves to repair these things. I don't think it's going to be a lot of work to go in there and just fix some of that concrete along the edges and put the pavers back into concrete so they don't move.
I agree with Tom. And for the price difference, we could have it done 2 or 3 times to offset putting concrete in. And that would be another X number of years.
The concern we'll have with this, though, is that we're going to have to go back out and re-solicit the proposals
That's fine.
for the work, and that's what we'll need, because none of these proposals would work because they're over.
Over a year old,
Over a year old, yeah.
almost a year old.
Yep.
yeah.
But what were the prices?
2,200 for,
They range from $1,406 to $2,200 for the
4,000.
repair.
for-
The 5-star looks like who Bruce mentioned, I believe, did it originally. There's not a lot of information here, but it appears by what they wrote here is it would be a complete redo with the base coming up and putting it from ground up.
$4,000.
And that's why it's $4,000 for that.
Dave, that's 4,000, not 14.
No, it's four.
4,000.
It's four.
Yeah, he said,
Said four.
Well, I
The
thought
other
you
one-
said 14. I'm
no,
sorry.
the other one, I think,
It's
is
$1,400.
for the other one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
1,400.
For OB.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I can go out and get them rebitted.
So do I have a motion to instruct the CAM to go resolicit it and have this available for us at our next?
And next meeting, yes.
So
As
moved.
Make a
as a
motion.
replace, or as a fix, or as a,
Repair, like you were, I think we'll go.
a
with
repair? Tom and I, okay.
So
I
the
so move that.
Second,
Second.
So we're having the pavers fixed.
and do we have a second, just so that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
You made that motion? Okay. Who seconded it?
Sandra.
Okay. The next one is the storm drain cleaning.
Yeah.
This thing confuses.
This one is a little bit confusing to me because I just, and this is not any, I happened to be in the grounds liaison, so I was in their meeting. But they actually had paperwork brought back to them, I believe, for this, and they have moved it to be in their next meeting next month, I believe. So it's a little premature for us to be, it's kind of, I know this particular project looks like it's going back and forth maybe, but since Grounds has information on it, and I know there were questions pertaining to if they were cleaning all the drains, especially the ones that flow into Lake Lamont, and there's also a question about if they're going to excavate the drain, the outfall that comes into the Basin 100, the dry pond. It's not clear and again, all three estimates are not clear on that they're doing the same scope of work, which is another concern. So we got to make sure that we go back for the same scope of work for the total number of drains that we have and outfalls, and make sure that everyone is identified on the proposal so that we can make a decision. This has been around for a long time. We need to make a decision and do it because we're required to do this. But we've got to make sure we're doing it, we've got the right information before we do that.
Is Grounds going to supply me the information then?
I would assume so. They have information already, and we can send, I would recommend we send what we have. If you don't have it, we'll just send it back to the Grounds Committee to include with their research on it.
Well, they already have it.
The copies of this?
Yeah, they have everything that you have.
Well, if you have it, if you don't, let us know. Okay,
You don't
So-
have it?
I believe I do.
Oh.
okay.
I believe, excuse me, I believe I do, Barb, and everything else, and I believe everybody on the committee as well has a copy of it. I will double check to make sure, but I believe I do.
Okay, if you don't, we'll make sure you get the copies. So do I have a motion to return it to Grounds?
Motion to,
Second?
Barry?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passed unanimously. The next one is the dock repair. This had been approved. It's been setting because there were delays, many of them as a result of the pandemic and in the availability of materials and then for the contractor to get back on track of doing the work. From what I understand, we are tentatively on the schedule now for July with this work, but we do have some considerations that we need to address with this also. It was suggested by one of our residents that we can, since it's back here, that we consider the use of Trex decking for the long-term maintenance as opposed to wood decking, which will be continual maintenance and also some deterioration down the road. And plus, so that's a possibility. Without the Trex, there's ample funding in the reserves right now available to cover the increase in the cost of the materials, from what I understand, from when we had the Finance Committee review this. And looking, there was a question that was brought up about the pilings, and I wanted to clarify that too. When the engineer did his report, the pilings apparently were functional and stable because he didn't cite those as something that needed to be repaired in the engineer's survey and report. So the work that was performed was based on the engineer's recommendations. And that recommendation was in October of 2018, so this does go back a while to do and we do have some safety issues right now with some of the decking in some areas with the condition of the dock flooring, of the walkway floorings, et cetera. So with that information, and we want to open it up for discussion, but the total cost, if we were to include the Trex, would be $56,250. The cost increase with the material increase, based on the fact that the timeline has been pushed out, the cost of the project was now $45,230, where the original contract price was $39,500. I know everything in construction is continuing to go up in pricing, but all over, so we're dealing with that issue, but this price is firm for now. With that, I open it up for discussion. Is there any discussion from the floor on this?
It has to be done.
Yes, Bob Thorns, Precinct 4. What is the projected life if we went with the Trek versus the projected life of the wood?
That's a good question. Does anybody here have an answer on that?
No, I know that it's a longer projection, but the treated lumber will probably last, I would say, 10 to 15 years
Down here, yeah.
down here, if it's maintained properly. And the Trex, it's just composite, it's not wood, so you're not going to see a lot of rotting. So it's going to last longer.
There's also no maintenance on it. You buy these as a color, and the color is infused into it. So grounds or maintenance doesn't have to do anything to it once it's done.
So if you look at the lack of maintenance required on the Trek and the longer life cycle, it's, initial purchase price is not necessarily the cheapest way to go.
That's
No.
correct. That's correct. That's how I look at it, because what was the difference, Dave? Do you know?
In what?
Were we over
Tricks.
11,000 on the
11,000.
reserve?
No.
No, the reserve had more
The
money.
additional increase in materials would be $11,020 for the use of the Trex.
Right, but that
And
was,
the difference with adding it in from what the proposal is, essentially is 11,000 higher than his proposal, but what is funded in the reserves, it's around $7,000 to $8,000 difference.
there, so $7,000, $8,000 difference, that's 2 or 3 years of painting and sanding, and that's how I look at it, so,
Be 1 year of it actually with the labor.
yeah,
Because you
actually,
can't paint, you're not supposed to paint the pressure-treated lumber.
yeah, you don't do that,
So
yeah,
it has to be stained.
Stained.
And sealed that way.
Let me ask the question, what is the additional cost of 5,000, additional cost of 5,700? I'm sorry.
Microphone, Sandra, please.
Oh, God. The additional cost of $5,730 for,
it's the inflated,
yeah, what is that?
that's just because the
That's
cost
the
of wood has
increased
gone
cost
up.
in the materials from the
Material
time
has
the
gone up.
proposal. That's what raised the total price to
Just
$45,230.
building
That's-
cost,
so that was the-
inflation.
Okay,
That's the
inflate,
inflated
okay,
cost of materials.
okay, thank you.
Yes, Scotty Stokes from Indian Ocean Loop. It's a no-brainer to go with Trex. My concern is, you're saying it's July now, we're going to do this. This was supposed to be done this month in May. So now, if they don't do it in July, is that price going to be the price, or is it going to keep going up?
Well, if we sign the
Once we
contract,
sign the contract.
I thought we had a
and their-
contract
and
signed.
Their pricing is holding right now by their contract, so they honor the price.
Didn't we have a contract because this Solutions place was, or Southern Dock was supposed to start in May? That's what I was told.
Originally, they were supposed to start in February. They were
And
so backlogged with their work, and they couldn't keep up, and they pushed us up until,
And COVID, too.
There was some
And the COVID.
personal, there was some, which we can't really go in, for the benefit of the owner. There were some personal issues that were considered in that also that dealt with it. But the original delay was because of the issues with the pandemic and everything shutting down. And then when they started back up, he also had another concern, which I think a lot of the industry has had with getting workers. They try to get workers to put together a crew to work on the project has been a problem for them across the board. So he's committed to July. For us to do this. Anything we would delay now would then push it out again because he's booked with Work Solid, his company is.
but we do have a contract with them.
We have a proposal, we haven't signed it yet.
Well-
Because this is a change, we have the original contract, but now we're talking about a change because of the difference in price. And since we're considering the difference in price, we're also considering the use of different materials such as Trex if we're
Right.
gonna do this.
Well, I would say go with the Trex. My next question is, are they going to change the layout of that dock at all? Take the zigzag out of it and make it a straight walk, or is it going to be the same?
Well,
it was not bid that way.
Okay.
bid
It's
according
bid to
the
leave it the way it
engineer's
is.
Diagram and drawing, everything was to the engineering report, so it'll be reconstructed the way that it is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions from the floor? Yes. Yes. Just a second, let him get the mic to you, please.
Dominic Mariani, Precinct 4.
Yes, Dominic.
The bid you're getting for the Trex, does that include any framework that's got to be changed underneath? Because when you go from wood to Trex, you usually got to have different framing underneath.
Whatever, his wording on this proposal is, that's the flat price, it includes everything. It's to change over for those materials that would include anything pertaining to that. There's nothing additional that way. I hope that answered your question, but that's what we have the proposal.
Well, it does say it's for encapsulated decking.
If they're not going to start this project to July, and the cost that is increasing, don't you think you should go out and get more quotes? $11,000 increase is a lot of bucks. And I think it behooves us to check out what it's going for, all this Vermilion composite lumber.
This quote was done in May of this year.
I'm trying to look here on, just bear with me just a moment.
Yeah. Or the requote, I don't know, was it a requote?
Requote, because the
Probably.
prices changed, yeah.
I have something here if I get to the
And I
price.
think it went up higher.
Well, the 5,000.
The 5,000, yeah.
When this was originally, just as a comparison, because when they originally bid this out, excuse me, okay. When they originally bid this out, they only were able to get two proposals from two companies. The other company was Fender Marine Construction out of Orlando. At the time, and that proposal at that time was $58,830 as compared to the proposal, original one here, which was $39,500. So I'm sure the pricing reflected why they chose to go with the company. They also got, from what I understand and looking at some of the background, they got several good referrals about the company that's doing the work. So that's what I've heard too. But that was a difference in the pricing. So to go out again would only delay it. We have concerns that we have to deal with, and we may be looking at the same thing, which then it'll drive all these bids will be affected by that because of the pricing. One more question.
David, it was bounced around about adding rails. Did we forget about adding the rails, or?
They're not in this project.
Okay.
I think, and that was confusing for me too, because we talked about it in the meeting. I wasn't sure if we were referring to adding some kind of a railing on the walkway where the rocks are.
Right.
And we weren't, I wasn't sure what that was for. But that, of course, would be an additional thing to have to consider.
Hey, yeah, Dave, I just was wondering if, if somebody had quoted it, or, you know.
No, we
if
don't have a quote on
Okay.
that yet.
We don't need it.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Bruce. Are there any other questions? Okay, from the board, any other discussion on this?
The question about the price of Trex is, every job that I've seen and had done, and have done, it's always been, Trex is at least 30% higher than regular wood for the whole project. I hope that answers your question about Trex.
And I think when we had the review by the Finance Committee, while they don't recommend what we do, they do give us information, but the overreach from what was projected in reserves, I guess, would be $8,300. But considering that the material that we're using in a longer life, it's not really out of line, and would probably be more successful long-term with the wear and tear. So with that, we don't have any other discussion. Do I have a motion
You're looking for a motion to approve?
to approve but for what? The Trex?
With the
or without
Trex.
I'll make a motion that we approve the docks with the Trex.
I second.
Do we have a vote?
I
All
accept.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Passed. Thank you for your input, too, on that. Now to new business. First new business is an appointment of a director for Precinct 4. The board had, we posted some postings for this, and I think we interviewed 2 people who had applied earlier. One of those people actually reapplied again. We also had 3 other applicants that applied, and they all were interviewed by different members of the board to get information. We considered a lot of variables. We considered availability, that they were snowbirds, essentially, were how long they would be gone, et cetera. We considered different things. And the people we were considering was Bob Fornes. It was Russell Renz, Dennis Delina, and Cheryl Shepard, I believe was her name. Cheryl had a good interview, but she also works at another management company, similar in a position to like Don, and her availability would, it just, when we discussed what would be involved, it just is too much of a conflict right now. But she has expressed an interest in volunteering for special projects within the community, and that's going to be good to know for the Precinct 4 director to know that too.
Now, I did reach out to Russ Renz, but he never called me back. I don't know if he ever called
He
you.
contacted me. and I
Oh,
spoke
okay,
with him.
great. Well,
He
you're,
too-
you're
he
more
is-
important than me.
I don't, you gotta be humble. That's, he's also a snowbird. His concern was primarily to make sure that we had someone to cover the position. So, knowing that there were other applicants, he just kindly withdrew. The same thing with Dennis, he did the same thing. His main concern was knowing that there were other applicants when we had the final discussions, and so he withdrew. So that essentially has left us, and we've interviewed Bob a couple of times, volunteering. We appreciate it, and I'm sure the precinct will appreciate it also. And we'll help you with setting up that precinct meeting for next month.
Thank you.
Give you a chance to meet some more of the people within your precinct.
Right.
The next thing on our agenda is a code of conduct. We've been talking about that for a while. We do have a final one that we have agreed on as a board and approved. And should I read it, or you want me to read it to everyone, or?
No.
You have to sign it.
That's fine.
But do you want me to read it to you so you know what it is?
No,
Okay.
no, too much.
This is going to be posted on the website also, and it'll have everyone's signature on it initially. That was more or less, as we agreed on, was more just a show of good faith, to show that we're committed to the changes and to continue on with this. Going forward, our hope is that we can, at some point in time, incorporate it from a policy into the bylaws, so where it'd be a permanent document for the community. Any discussion on that? Do
No,
have a
I think
motion?
there's 4 of us that are already gonna sign it. We just don't know about the 5th guy yet. But he's
The new
reading.
guy.
He's reading it now? Okay.
I see no issues. I'd have no problem signing it.
So,
The nice thing about it, it's all good common sense. It's nothing overboard.
so do I have a motion to
Have a-
put this in effect?
Yes, I make the motion that we accept the Board of Directors Code of Ethics. Can you hear me?
Second.
Okay.
Barry seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
So when are we signing it?
This one, sign this one. About this.
We'll sign it after the meeting.
has to make a note, you can put his name on it. So we can get his.
Okay, the next item is a discussion for a new committee. This is we've had, in discussion with my precinct too, we had discussions on forming an ad hoc committee for communication to be involved with other communities around us, 55-plus communities, share the experiences, communicate with them, get feedback, share our feedback. There have been many instances where this would have been beneficial to the community, even in the last year with knowing what other communities were doing as far as to the guidelines with the procedures with the pandemic, what they're doing as far as issues that they may have had with the TV providers. It just is a good way to maintain a widespread communication, and sometimes we get good ideas from the communities that will help and benefit us too. So that was proposed to the board by a resident. So essentially what we're doing today is just to discuss it and see if it's something that the board will want to entertain going forward. If it is, we will post something for volunteers from the community, and then they can move forward, and once we have the volunteers with putting together an agenda, if it gets approved by the board, so. Any discussion on this from the community? Is there any discussion from the floor? Okay.
So they are supposed to just reach out to other communities and keep
Well-
us advised of
Right.
what
Well,
they're doing?
An example also would be like with, I know we've had people who have expressed a desire for food trucks, et cetera, and there are communities that are around us that are doing that. It's a good way to find out how they're doing it, what they need to do, and can share it with us so that we're not totally reinventing the wheel on things. We can also find out things, any problems they've had with it. But it's just a good communication vehicle for the community, and to where we don't feel so isolated, maybe like in a bubble ourselves, and because we're not alone, there are a lot of other communities like ours in this area. You have anyone else have any discussion on that?
It seems to me to be a great tool and one that we should certainly use.
If it's been done somewhere else, it can be done here. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
We were talking about doing this as a opening of the whole community's common areas.
Haven't gotten that yet, but that's okay.
I know, but that's what we were proposing, is having a celebration to get this place back open and running, everything.
Yeah.
and having the food trucks come in and maybe some vendors or somebody come in just to make it a little more worthwhile for everybody to come out other than just the food. But that's what we're talking about.
Do I have a motion for this to
Well, what is your motion for? We're not,
To-
we need volunteers, you need to
Well, the
to do
motion is
this.
for the board to approve
To
having the
approve-
committee.
to have
Now
this,
we have to
yeah,
go through the process where we would have volunteers.
Form the
Right,
committee,
volunteers in
okay.
charter. Okay, I make a motion to
Okay,
accept this.
Yes,
I second.
just a second, we have a question.
We got one out.
Just one question. Mary Weichel from Precinct 1. We're in the Communication Committee, and we are already talking to some of the other communities about their television stations, about their websites, et cetera. So now would this be in conflict with the other committee, or?
No, I don't see that being as a
Okay.
conflict, really. And
We
in fact,
didn't-
you probably could collectively work together.
Do we need it?
Many of the committees, it's an ad hoc committee. I think it's a suggestion to see if, to try to help the community be more proactive and interactive with the other communities on many issues. And if we may reach a point where it won't be needed any longer. That's why it's an ad hoc committee, but it's something to assist the board too with that.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify if we needed to go through the ad hoc committee to continue our conversations.
No, you're your own ad
Okay.
hoc.
Okay.
Isn't she her own ad hoc?
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, this is Paula Fisher,
Yes.
Precinct 1. I have a
Yes.
comment. I just think that whoever made that recommendation to the board, I just think it's fantastic. I think that there is so much untapped talent in this community. And
That's a
I'm,
very good point. You're
Yep.
absolutely right on that. And it encourages more people to be involved. You know, and the more involvement we have, the better it will be.
Yeah, I think,
We have a lot of good things going with our committees now, you know, so it's, I don't see how it can hurt us. So do we have any other questions?
She made the motion, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we pass, we'll move forward with
Is
it.
that your first official vote?
Code of conduct. And we'll put, so we'll need to, Barbara, we need to put a notice out soliciting volunteers for the committee. The next item on the report says Riddle Engineering for inspections. That one, I think we should hold on because we've already given recommendations to Barbara to reach out to a couple of other engineering firms this is an estimate for when we get to a proposal for when we're at the point where we want to have the inspection of our stormwater basin completed to get quotes from the different engineering firms for what the cost. That's a requirement that we're supposed to do every 2 years and maintain it and send proper documentation and paperwork into the St. Johns River Water Management District. So we're going to table it while we're holding for additional estimates. Is that okay with the?
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Now, the next thing is the decision for the reopening of the community. I can speak for my precinct right now. I think it's just something we need to do. I think the majority of my precinct is strongly in favor of this. And from the feedback I've had from the other parts of the community is the same. I would open for any communication from the floor if someone wants to talk to us about this.
I know.
Okay?
We are,
Identify yourself, please.
yeah, who are
Katie
you,
Mays,
please?
Precinct 1. So is that reopening without any restrictions?
That's it,
Yes.
total reopening. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask.
If you
Come
choose
to,
not- if
come
you
to
do-
the events, don't come to the
I would
events.
say if you choose, you make your own decisions. If you choose to wear a mask, do so. If you don't, you make your own, make your own decisions for what you think is best for each person. But essentially it's happening all over around us right now too. I just got a notice today about Royal Highlands is completely open now. It's just done the same thing. So it's, I think, and I go back again to the water volleyball, while it was a small thing, I think it's time we need to have outlets to just enjoy our retirement and have fun again, so. And I think that I strongly encourage that we do that. So, yes, Russ?
Oh, so he has a loud voice, you don't need no. Now, what's he
Russ,
want?
I just want to know, we can go back to all the seating charts as available?
No.
What, excuse me?
If we're going to go back to opening and social hall, then the seating charts for the events can be used, that's always been used in the past? There's no social distancing?
Back to normal.
Back to normal, is that correct?
Yeah.
So,
So you can only have 10 seats.
okay, I just wanted to clarify that seating arrangements are based upon the existing.
It's,
Well, we haven't voted
we
yet.
haven't voted
Yeah,
yet.
we haven't
but
voted yet.
we're-
Yeah, we
we're
haven't
ready if
voted.
There's no other
I
discussion.
make a motion that we open up the community.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed. And that'll be effective June 1st.
Yes,
Get the pizza
yes,
parties
yes,
going.
get it going.
Now, we're into the
Sears, the fun
SCRs.
Sears.
I'll try to move through these as quickly as possible.
People are getting hungry.
The first SCR is number 33, and it's from the House Committee. It's the approval of Jack Shore and Jean McCann as new House Committee members. Do I have any discussion on that?
I make a motion that this be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. The next one is number 34. It's approval of an expenditure for $1,926 for the refurbishment of an entrance sign at the entry to the community. We checked the funding on this. There is a line item for it, but there's only $750. That, of course, is a line item for all signs for all repairs. So the funding's not available right now. But do we have discussion from the floor that wants to talk about this before?
Dave, I also, when we went out and got those quotes, when we got the quote on the repair of the sign out front, I also had the guy just briefly say, well, you know, what would a new sign cost? And, you know, you're talking $5,000 again for a new sign. And he says, what difference is it going to make between a new sign and us refurbishing it? It's going to be brand new. He's going to put new ropes on there as well. So that's, you know, the quote on refurbishing as opposed to new is a large amount of money.
Okay. What, discussion on this?
Well, seeing as how we do not have the funds appropriated for it, do we need to push it off longer or bite the bullet?
Can this be something that could be held and proposed for the next year's budget, where we'd include it in the budget for that amount? If that's, I mean, if that's it's not in a condition, what I'm asking, where it's just going to fall down immediately and deteriorate, correct? Okay. Then I would probably say, because of some of the concerns we know we already have, that would be something that we just put on the list and know that it's built in. We'll work toward having it in for next year's budget. And it'll be factored in because, like I said, the $750 was a base amount, and that's just for normal maintenance. If we have a sign failure like a speed sign or any other sign in the community, that's what little we would have to draw on to do that repair. So to do it, to spend it now, we would have nothing left if something came up, so.
But Dave, tell me this, is this one quote or was this more than one quote? Because that price is very high. I'll go out there and paint it. And,
Well, it was
you know,
to
that's-
do refurbishment too. I think what Bruce was saying, because he was familiar when it was originally put in, the cost for a new one, I think he said was what, 5,000?
About 5,000, yeah.
And the refurbishment of the existing one is what we're looking at, the 1,900. Of course, if there's some other
Yeah,
vendors.
there might be other vendors
available,
that can do the
that
same
also
thing
give
for
us
less
time
than
to look into that
$2,000.
For the refurbishment, but this was the company that actually did the sign the first time, but,
And they're also the signs, it's also the company that does the sign, other signs in the community, so.
okay. Stokes
Okay.
can have a motion then that will deny it, and then they can bring it back as a part of their budget proposal.
Okay. So
Okay,
moved.
we make the motion to
Second.
deny it and bring it
All
back
in
for the
favor to
budget.
deny for lack of funding? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Oh,
The next one is the number 35, and that's for the approval of the resignation of Cora Schifflin.
Schifflin.
Shiflin.
Okay, I apologize for that. From the Sports Venue Committee, and the appointment of Chuck Waters as a new member, Herb Reed, Tom Rowley as renewal members. And in addition, Rick Knight is elected chairman, and Paul Patton is elected secretary of the committee. Any discussion on that? Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve this.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, the next one is number 36, and that's an acceptance of a donation of a DV player from Main Event Entertainment through the House Committee to the exercise class. That I believe the donation's already been made. There's no charge on this one. It was a straight donation from the Main Event Entertainment.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Passed
Russ.
unanimous. And thank you, Russ, for donating it. The next one is the approval of the resignation of Judy Grow and the approval of new member Judy Lexvold. This is to the Art Committee. In addition, it's the approval of the appointment of Frank Myers as chair, Bruce, is it Jasowick, as vice chair, and Laura Armstrong as the secretary. Any discussion? Do I have a motion to,
I make a motion that we approve.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. The next one is the approval of Helen Baker as a new pool member. That's number 38. For the
Make a
pool
motion that
committee.
we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next one,
Wait a minute, guys. You're going way too fast. Did you second that?
Yeah,
Gary?
yeah.
the next one is from the currently Ad Hoc Communications Committee. This is to approve the resignation of Belinda, was it Strobe from the committee. And any discussion on that? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the resignation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and to thank her.
Yes. We
Yes.
need to give her many, many thanks for all the
Yes.
years.
Yes, we do. Number 40 is the approval of Deb Rice as a new member of the Ad Hoc Communications Committee. Any questions on that one?
None.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so approved. Number 41 is a request from the House Committee to relocate the defibrillator to the hall near the first aid kit, and they also have modified the request to also relocate the fire extinguisher there, so the equipment's in the same location.
They don't have to be in the same.
Do we have any discussion on that?
Sensible.
I make a motion, we approve.
Let's make sure we have no discussion. Okay. No discussion? Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You moved and he seconded. Okay. The next one is number 42. That's approval of Kathy Landry's Sonstegard as a House Committee member, an alternate House Committee member. My only question on that is that, and I think I did speak with Russ earlier about it, we need to update the charter so we know how many actual members are on this committee. We at one time, it almost didn't have anybody on it, so we have really recovered well with this in the last 30 days. But that'll just be something you'll need to present for next month's meeting, an updated charter.
Yeah, we've worked hard on getting
Yeah,
people.
and it's good to see the volunteers
Yes,
stepping up, so that's
definitely.
good. So,
Make a motion to
motion to
approve.
approve?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, this is where I have a
Okay,
problem.
the next one is to, it's a SCR to change the status of the Ad Hoc Communications Committee to a full permanent standing committee. Any discussion on this?
Yes, I have a discussion. I think they're doing a marvelous job, so don't take out of context what I'm saying. But they just been in existence, I think, a couple months. The only thing that I'm concerned with is that I think next month, we're having the residents to come to give any input or whatever they have. And then I think maybe at our June, I'm just thinking at our June, we could make them permanent. But I would like to get the input from those who will attend the meeting, I think June 16th, and give their input and then make their presentation. And, you know, I just think it'd be good with our residents involved in our decision. So that's the only thing. I'm not saying not to have, just saying that, my opinion, June would be good because, like I said, they're doing a good, excellent job. I don't know if everybody has seen it. What I think it's the television, the 135 station, the currents and everything. I think it's just fantastic. That's my only concern.
I just want to mention something,
go ahead.
and I understand your concerns on that, Sandra. With updating the community with all the things that are being worked on, I mean, it's pretty clear to me that this is a committee that's going to be long-term. It's not something a short-term committee for the community, especially with just the things that we're seeing now with all the testing and experience that they're working on with trying to improve our media presentation and to the community. Today, they're doing the test for the YouTube to see how successful that is, which may be something going forward that we can use where the community can attend a meeting via a YouTube channel. So there's so many things going on that's one of the things why when I first saw it, I considered that this, you know, it's not a committee that I can see going away. I know we used to have a committee with a similar name, the Tech Committee, but the work that they're doing and the areas they're going into, and also the different levels of expertise that are there, we definitely need the board definitely needs the support on that as to try to make sure and maintain that going forward. So that's my thought on it. And I know we discussed that periodically.
No,
before, but
I
that's
agree
my
with
thought
everything
on
you
it.
said. I just said, instead of doing it this month, do it after we bring the people together to have the presentation that they will, the ad hoc committee will present whatever they want to the people. The people have any questions at that presentation, they will. And they might find even more people that have that kind of mindset that they will, you know, join. I'm totally in agreement to it, totally. I just said, you know, wait
Barry, you
1
have
month.
something?
Yeah, so the name would be just a communication committee?
Yes.
So not ad hoc anymore.
Right.
And what about the costs? Is there any new additional costs coming to the community for this that we're not already paying for?
Well, we already are paying for some costs pertaining to the domain and things of that nature. There is a discussion, and it's also at the end of this for consideration for cloud storage, because right now we are using cloud storage, but unfortunately we're using a resident's cloud storage, and he's paying for it for the community. But it's been going on, and with the things that are going on with the committee, there's going to be an increased demand for the cloud storage.
Okay.
So I think that's at the end of this, but the recommendation is that we make a recommendation for the community to have that cloud storage with an initial startup cost they have on there for what it would be to maintain the information and backing up the information for the community. We're doing it now, but it's only because of the you know, the graciousness of one of our residents, you know, and that's,
So do they
We
have
need
a
to look
budget?
beyond it long-term.
Will they present a budget, will this committee present a budget in August about
yes,
what?
yes,
yeah,
yes,
okay.
they will.
And
Any
that is
discussion
not,
from the-
none of that is currently in the budget. Is that
No.
correct?
No, other than the
Some of it might be,
expenses
so.
for like the cost for the domain that we've been paying, things of that nature, but nothing else. Do I have any other questions from the community on this? From those of you that are left, we must have said something that chased people away.
I told you they were hungry. People are getting hungry.
But, so any other discussion? Do I have a motion? Do we want to, I need a motion from someone for us to consider first.
I so move that we make it a permanent committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to make it a permanent committee, second. have a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm okay with
Sorry,
it, yeah.
sweetie.
No, I'll eye it too, I eye
You
it.
okay?
Yeah, I eye it.
We'll make
So
it
is that
work.
all?
Yeah,
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 all
yeah,
ayes.
yeah.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll make
Okay,
it.
so they're now
No,
at full
that was fine
committee.
with us,
The next one is number 44. It's the approval of Rob French as a member of the Sports Venue Committee. Any discussion? Do I have a motion to?
Motion to
So
accept,
moved.
yes, and
Second.
second, well, you second our first, and it's
Okay.
between us whatever way.
All in favor?
Aye.
That passed. The next one is the approval to install drainage in the RV lot. Now, this one is a ratification, actually, because the work was done before the paperwork was submitted. And that's one thing we're going to discuss when we get into our workshop session next month with the committees to make sure everyone's aware of this, because we got to make sure in all cases, every request follows the right process for the funding. And, from my personal standpoint, it's not, it just comes down to that we really got to be solid on this. And unless it's an emergency, we cannot be, as a rule, keep going back and approving expenditures after the fact. So that's what we'd like to do, to make sure all the committees are on the same page with it, to understand what they need to do. You still, in most cases, will have the process work out for you, but we need to follow the process to track the money and to control the spending. So with that, that's my 2 cents on it. Work's been done. I've had discussions personally with the newest person, engineer in charge of our area from the St. Johns River Water Management District, and she's issued communication that once the engineer inspects our basins and we have them where basin 100 is improved, they'll just add that into the inspection report with a diagram, and it'll be included with our permit, and they're okay with that. So that'll solve the whole situation. And then we need to provide the planning office at the city with a copy of the information from that engineer at St. John, so they'll have it with their records too, because they also issued a document that approved the fact that it was okay to do it without a permit. So that just keeps everybody on the same page, everybody with the same documentation and going forward. But it has to be done the right way going forward, one step at a time. So that's what we're going to work. We're going to bring it up in the workshops. So do I have a motion on this? To accept?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And the next one is the number 46, the approval of Sarah LeBaron
LeBaron.
as a new member of the Finance Committee. Do I have any discussion?
Make a
So-
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passed. The next one is accept the resignation of Kathy Biller from the committee. Any discussion?
No.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next one is from the ad hoc, or the communication committee now. This was in relation to they have a request to approve for cloud storage for Royal Harbor. And the initial request is not to exceed $400 annually. It says the initial cost would not be over $400. However, as more groups use the cloud, we may have to adjust that accordingly and factor it into future budgets, but it's for community storage. Any discussion on this?
What
No
amount of
discussion.
storage does that $400 get us?
What amount of storage does the $400 provide?
She's trying to turn on her mic.
Probably 3 or 4 terabytes,
Okay.
which is buku storage.
It's a lot of data.
And what cloud? Is it Google or?
What cloud?
Who's the provider? Is it Google or
Microsoft.
Microsoft?
Microsoft, okay. Any other questions?
No.
Do I have a motion?
So
Motion.
moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Which one of yous made the motion? And which one?
Sandra.
They did down
Oh,
there.
they're saying
I
you.
second.
Sandra and Mary.
We're through with the SCRs. A couple of real quick things. Again, the next board meeting will actually be a workshop on June 16th, and it's scheduled at 10 a.m. in the social hall, and the information will be going out to the committees, and notice will be properly noticed also in the community, so you can attend the meetings and participate, but the purpose is to interact with the committees in working toward the budgets for next year. And then following that, the next board meeting after that will be the real board meeting. It'll be on June 23rd, and that's showing right now at PM. We're still undetermined on the time. We changed to 4 for this time so that they could do the test that they were doing with the YouTube testing on this, for this presentation. So we'll let you know on that. And then the last thing I have is that everyone have a wonderful Memorial Day and weekend. And enjoy June 1st when everything's wide open.
Absolutely.
So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Those of you that stayed.
You got the signature page back?
Yes.